Anakin Skywalker stood on the balcony of the Jedi Temple, staring out at the endless sprawl of Coruscant. The city stretched far and wide, its towering buildings illuminated by the glow of thousands of speeders darting through the night. But his mind was far from the busy cityscape below. His thoughts were tangled in a web of duty, love, and the weight of his power. He was at the height of his abilities, one of the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy, respected by his peers and feared by his enemies. But despite this, and a cheek gnawed at him, a deceit that he couldn't shake. The war had dragged on longer than anyone expected. The Clone Wars had turned him into a battle-hardened warrior. But with every victory came a deeper sense of disillusionment with the Jedi Council. They continued to treat him like an outsider, never granting him the full respect or trust he felt he deserved. And then there was Padme. His secret marriage weighed on him more heavily with each passing day. He had sworn an oath as a Jedi, a vow of detachment, but his love for her was undeniable, inseparable from who he had become. Every moment they spent apart during the war filled him with fear of losing her, fear that the visions of her death might come true. And yet, he couldn't confide in anyone. To do so would mean the end of his career as a Jedi, possibly even worse. He clenched his fists, trying to push the fear away. It was not the way of the Jedi to let emotions rule over reason, but these emotions were different. They were tied to something deeper, something that the Jedi didn't understand. The door behind him slid open, and Anakin turned to see Obi-Wan Kenob standing in the doorway, his face worn from the burdens of war. There was an unspoken bond between them, forged through countless battles and the shared experience of being Jedi Knights during a time of galactic conflict. But even that bond had been strained recently.
I came to tell you I've been given my orders.
Obi-Wan said, his voice even.
I'm leaving for Utapau. The Council believes General Grievous is hiding there.
Anakin frowned, his frustration rising to the surface.
You're going alone? That doesn't make any sense, Obi-Wan. Grievous is dangerous.
Obi-Wan offered a small, tired smile.
You know the Council's decisions. They believe I can handle this. Besides, you're needed here on Coruscant.
Needed here? Anakin thought bitterly. He felt like he was always being left behind. The Council had sent Obi-Wan to face Dooku on Geonosis without him, and now they were doing the same with Grievous. It was as if they didn't trust him despite all he had done for the Republic.
I should be going with you,
Anakin muttered, turning back to face the city. His voice was tight with frustration, the kind that had been building for months. Obi-Wan stepped forward, sensing the tension.
I know it's hard. The Council
doesn't trust me.
Anakin interrupted, his voice sharp. He could feel the heat rising in his chest, the familiar anger that simmered beneath the surface.
They never have.
Obi-Wan hesitated, his eyes filled with concern.
Anakin, they're cautious, yes, but they respect you. You've done more for the Republic than most Jedi could ever hope to.
Anakin's jaw clenched. He wanted to believe that, but the doubt had rooted itself deep within him, growing stronger with every slight, every whispered command. Anakin paced back and forth in his quarters, his thoughts a whirlwind of frustration and fear. His mind kept returning to the same bitter truths. The Jedi Council didn't trust him. They never had. Even after all he'd done, after all the battles he'd fought and won, they still held him at arm's length. And now, when General Grievous, one of the last major threats to the Republic, needed to be taken down, they sent Obi-Wan alone. Why not me? The thought burned in his chest, tightening his grip on the edge of the table before him. He had proved himself time and again, but still, the Council treated him like a reckless child. He couldn't help but wonder if they were deliberately holding him back. He was the chosen one, wasn't he? Hadn't he earned the right to face the galaxy's greatest threats? Yet in the shadows of his mind, the fear lingered. Padme. Anakin stopped pacing and leaned against the wall, his hand instinctively reaching for the pendant she had given him, hidden beneath his robes. The visions, the nightmares, haunted him every night. Padme crying out in pain, Padme gasping for breath as she lay dying in childbirth. He had never felt so powerless. The very thought of losing her, of standing by as her life slipped away, was unbearable. He had to find a way to stop it. There must be a way. Palpatine had hinted as much, subtly planting the idea that there was power beyond the teachings of the Jedi, power that could save the ones he loved. But the Jedi had forbidden him from seeking such knowledge, had forbidden him from even discussing his dreams of Padme's death. He balled his fist at the injustice of it. They were holding him back, denying him the answers he so desperately needed. How could they expect him to remain loyal when they wouldn't even trust him with the truth? Just then, a soft chime echoed through the room, signaling an incoming message. Anakin turned, his eyes narrowing as he activated the holo communicator. The image of Chancellor Palpatine flickered to life before him, calm and commanding as ever.
Anakin.
Palpatine greeted warmly.
I trust you're well.
Anakin forced a nod, though his thoughts were far from calm.
As well as I can be, Chancellor. Obi-Wan's been sent to deal with Grievous alone.
Palpatine's expression darkened slightly.
Ah, yes. A curious decision, wouldn't you agree? Sending Master Kenobi to face such a formidable foe without your assistance.
Anakin's frustration bubbled to the surface.
It doesn't make sense. I fought Grievous before. I know how dangerous he is. But the Council?
He cut himself off, feeling the weight of his words. Palpatine smiled, a knowing look in his eyes.
The Jedi Council has often underestimated your abilities, Anakin. They fear your potential.
The words settled heavily in Anakin's mind. He wanted to argue, to defend the Jedi, but deep down, he knew Palpatine was right. The Council did fear him. Palpatine's voice softened.
You deserve far more than what they are willing to give you. And I fear they may never trust you fully, not with the power you wield.
Anakin clenched his jaw, the truth of it gnawing at him. He was growing more restless by the day, and the Jedi's refusal to see his value was only pushing him further away. Palpatine continued, his tone soothing yet insidious.
There are ways, Anakin. Ways to save those you love. But the Jedi will never show you.
Anakin Skywalker was still brooding when he was summoned to the Jedi Council chamber. The doors slid open to reveal the solemn faces of Masters Yoda, Mace Windu, and the other members of the Council, their expressions as unreadable as ever. As he stepped forward, he could feel the tension hanging in the air, but his impatience overshadowed any apprehension he might have had. Master Windu was the first to speak.
Anakin, we have discussed recent developments.
Mace said, his deep voice carrying the weight of the decision they were about to reveal.
It has come to our attention that General Grievous is far more dangerous than we initially thought. We cannot afford to take any chances.
Anakin frowned, unsure of where this was leading.
What are you saying, Master?
Yoda's voice chimed in, calm but direct.
Assist Obi-Wan you will. To Utapau you shall go.
Anakin's heart skipped a beat. For a moment he was unsure if he had heard correctly. They were sending him? The Council had finally decided to trust him with this crucial mission, one that could end the war. For months he had been kept in Coruscant, sidelined, while others took the lead. Now he was being sent into the fray to face one of the galaxy's most notorious enemies.
Thank you, Masters.
Anakin said, barely containing his eagerness. His mind was already racing ahead. Grievous, Utapau, Obi-Wan. This was his chance to prove once and for all that he was more than capable. If he could help defeat Grievous, it might finally earn him the respect he deserved. Mace Windu, sensing Anakin's excitement, gave a curt nod, but his tone remained cautious.
Be mindful of your feelings, Anakin. This mission is about the Republic, not personal glory.
Anakin met his gaze, biting back the sharp retort that sprang to mind. He bowed his head respectfully, though inside the fire of ambition burned even brighter.
Yes, Master. I will not fail.
As he left the council chamber, he felt a sense of purpose flooding through him. Finally, he would not be left on the sidelines while others shaped the course of the war. Anakin boarded the Republic cruiser, meeting Obi-Wan in the hangar as they prepared for departure to Utapau. Obi-Wan, always calm, gave him a curious glance.
So, the Council decided to send you after all.
Obi-Wan remarked with a hint of amusement in his voice. Anakin smiled, his excitement barely contained.
They made the right call, Obi-Wan. Together, we'll end this war.
Obi-Wan's expression softened as he placed a hand on Anakin's shoulder.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Grievous is cunning, and he's surrounded by his droid army. We'll need to be smart about this.
Anakin's confidence didn't waver.
We can handle it. The Council is trusting me to do this, and I won't let them down.
The journey to Utapau was filled with anticipation. Anakin could feel the tension in the air as they approached the planet. The dry, rocky terrain of Utapau came into view, and Anakin's heart quickened. He would soon face General Grievous, a fight that could shape the fate of the galaxy. As the two Jedi descended into the vast sinkhole cities of Utapau, Anakin's senses heightened. The dark presence of Grievous was palpable. He could feel the weight of the moment, the sense that this battle could change everything, not just for the Republic, but for him personally. When they landed and disembarked, Anakin caught Obi-Wan's eye. They exchanged a brief nod, the kind shared by brothers in arms preparing for the unknown. Anakin's hand hovered near his lightsaber hilt, his muscles tense. For once, he was not on the sidelines. This time, he was in the center of the action, and as they moved deeper into the city, the anticipation built. Soon, Anakin would come face to face with General Grievous, and the future of the war would hang in the balance. As Anakin and Obi-Wan descended into the depths of Utapau's sinkhole city, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Their mission was clear: find and eliminate General Grievous, the Separatist leader who had eluded them for so long. But as they moved through the towering structures and hidden passageways of the planet, it became apparent that they would need to split up to cover more ground. Obi-Wan, ever the strategist, glanced at Anakin.
We'll cover more ground if we split up. I'll take the high ground.
Obi-Wan suggested, his tone calm as always.
You take the lower sectors.
Anakin nodded, his eyes burning with determination.
I'll find him, and when I do, this war will end.
Obi-Wan gave him a measured look, sensing the intensity in his young friend.
Just be careful, Anakin. Grievous is more dangerous than he appears.
Anakin offered a quick smile, though inside he felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He had been given this chance to prove himself, and he was not going to waste it. Anakin moved swiftly through the lower levels of Utapau, his senses sharp and alert. The city seemed deserted, but he could feel a dark presence lurking nearby, growing stronger with each step. His mind raced ahead to the confrontation he knew was coming. Grievous was close, and the thought of finally ending the war filled him with purpose. As he rounded a corner, he saw the hulking figure of General Grievous standing at the edge of a platform. The cyborg general turned, his cloak billowing in the wind, revealing his skeletal frame and multiple lightsabers hanging from his belt, trophies of fallen Jedi.
You must be Skywalker.
Grievous sneered, his voice a mechanical growl. Anakin ignited his lightsaber, the blue blade humming to life.
You're going to pay for all the Jedi you've killed, Grievous.
Grievous chuckled, his voice filled with mockery.
Ah, the famed Chosen One. I wonder, do you truly believe you can defeat me? Or is that arrogance talking?
Without waiting for an answer, Grievous charged forward, igniting two of his lightsabers. The clash of energy filled the air as Anakin met him head-on, their blades locking in a fierce exchange. Grievous moved with surprising speed for his size, his cybernetic limbs giving him an unpredictable edge. Anakin, despite his skill, found himself pushed to the limit by Grievous's ferocity and unorthodox fighting style. The battle raged across the platform, sparks flying as their sabers clashed again and again. Anakin could feel the anger rising in him, his desire to end this quickly overpowering his usual focus.
You fight with passion, Skywalker.
Grievous said, parrying one of Anakin's strikes.
But passion can be a weakness.
Anakin gritted his teeth, swinging harder.
You're wrong. Passion gives me strength.
Grievous laughed, spinning one of his lightsabers with terrifying precision.
But your passion is not for the Jedi, is it? No, your passion is for someone else.
Anakin hesitated, the words cutting through the heat of battle. Grievous pressed the advantage, his yellow eyes gleaming with malice.
I know about your wife, Skywalker. Padme Amidala, isn't it? Count Dooku had many interesting things to say before you killed him. And Sidious, well, he knows everything.
Anakin faltered, his lightsaber wavering for a moment. The mention of Padme, of his secret marriage, sent a shockwave through him. How could Grievous know? How could anyone know? Grievous smirked, sensing the doubt creeping into Anakin's mind.
You've been a fool to think you could hide it. The Jedi Council will find out, and when they do, they'll cast you aside. You're no different from me, Skywalker. A tool, nothing more.
Anakin's heart pounded in his chest. The words struck deep, unearthing his deepest fears. His secret, his love for Padme, his nightmares of her dying, was now exposed, and Grievous was using it against him.
I won't let that happen!
Anakin roared, his anger boiling over. Fueled by a mixture of rage and desperation, Anakin attacked with renewed intensity, driving Grievous back. But the general's words had done their damage. Anakin's thoughts were clouded, his emotions in turmoil. Every strike felt heavier, his focus splintering under the weight of doubt. Grievous, sensing the shift, kept taunting him.
Sidious has plans for you, Skywalker. The same plans he had for Dooku. You think you're special. You're just another pawn in his game.
Anakin's resolve wavered. Grievous words echoed in his mind, mixing with the nightmares of Padme's death, the Council's distrust, and his frustration with the war. The battle raged on, but the true fight was within Anakin's own soul, where doubt, fear, and anger swirled, threatening to consume him. Anakin stood over the smoking remains of General Grievous, his chest heaving, lightsaber still humming in his hand. The acrid scent of burnt metal filled the air, mingling with the faint sound of the wind sweeping through the corridors of Utapau. Grievous was dead, slain by Anakin in a moment of raw, unbridled power. His four severed mechanical arms lay scattered across the platform, the cyborg's body a lifeless heap. Victory. But instead of the relief Anakin had hoped for, a heavy, suffocating silence settled around him. His heart pounded not from the exertion of battle, but from the echoes of Grievous's last words, lingering in his mind like a toxin. The general's taunts had cut deeper than any blade could. Padme, Sidious, the Council. They twisted in his thoughts, planting seeds of doubt and resentment. He had won. He had proven his strength, his power. Yet the price felt steep. As he deactivated his lightsaber, the hollow sound of its retreating energy seemed to mirror the emptiness growing within him. Anakin looked down at Grievous's body, a symbol of the war's end, yet his mind was fixated elsewhere, on Padme, on the Jedi, and the lies they'd kept from him. Obi-Wan would be here soon. The mission was nearly complete. But something had shifted inside Anakin, something darker. Grievous knew about Padme. The thought gnawed at him. If Grievous had known, who else did? Sidious? The Jedi Council? Anakin's stomach churned as paranoia gripped him. He had always felt a divide between himself and the Council, a distrust that seemed to grow the more powerful he became. They had kept him in the shadows, always on the fringes of their inner workings. They didn't trust him. Maybe they never did. And then there was Palpatine, his confidant and friend. Palpatine had always been there, whispering in his ear, showing faith in him when the Jedi wouldn't. Yet now, even that relationship felt suspect. If Sidious knew about his marriage to Padme, what else had he been hiding? Anakin's thoughts spiraled, the victory over Grievous feeling less like a triumph and more like the closing of a door. For so long, Anakin had believed in the cause of the Jedi, in the Republic they served, but now he wasn't so sure. Grievous' dying words had splintered the image of the order he had held so dear. They had lied to him. They had used him. And yet Palpatine had always been honest, had always valued him. Anakin clenched his fists, his knuckles white as a storm of emotions brewed within him. He had done what the Jedi asked, defeated the greatest threat to the Republic. But where was his reward? Where was the recognition? The Council still treated him like an outsider, and now, with Grievous gone, what would be left for him? In that moment, Anakin knew he had the power to shape the galaxy, to decide its fate. He had seen it. He was no longer the young Padawan waiting for scraps of approval. He had become something greater. But with that power came the growing isolation. He couldn't turn to the Jedi. He couldn't even trust Obi-Wan, who had tried to placate him, to keep him in line. And Padme, if the Council found out about her, what would they do? Grievous's death was supposed to be the end of the war, but for Anakin, it was the beginning of something else, something darker. He could feel the pull of it now, the allure of control. The Jedi couldn't offer him what he wanted. Only Palpatine, with his promises of peace and power, could. As the echoes of battle faded, Anakin turned from Grievous' body, his mind set. This was only the beginning. He had gotten what he wanted, victory, power, but at a price that was just starting to reveal itself. The path ahead was no longer clear, and the shadow of betrayal from all sides loomed larger than ever. Anakin strode through the halls of the Jedi Temple, the echoes of his boots on the stone floor lost in the whirl of thoughts consuming him. He had returned to Coruscant a hero, celebrated for his victory over Grievous. The war was nearly won, the Republic saved, yet as he entered the Council chambers, the familiar unease crept up his spine. The Council members were gathered, their expressions measured as they always were around him. He could feel their eyes on him, scrutinizing every move, every flicker of emotion. They don't trust me. They never have.
Skywalker,
Mace Windu began, his voice steady but distant.
your defeat of General Grievous has struck a critical blow to the Separatists. The Republic owes you a great debt.
Anakin gave a curt nod, expecting more. He had fulfilled his mission, done what no other Jedi had managed to do. Surely now they would finally acknowledge his true power, his rightful place within the Order.
We commend your bravery,
Ki-Adi-Mundi added, his tone diplomatic.
But there are still matters to attend to.
Mace continued, his expression tightening.
You will not be granted the rank of Master.
The words hit Anakin like a blow, his fist clenched at his sides, jaw tightening. After everything, after defeating Grievous, after proving his strength, they still kept him at arm's length. The denial stung deeper than any wound.
Why?
Anakin demanded, his voice sharper than intended.
I've done everything the Council has asked of me. I've proven myself.
Yoda's calm, piercing gaze met Anakin's.
Much to learn, you still have. Power alone does not make one a master.
Anakin's anger simmered beneath the surface, threatening to boil over. How could they be so blind? He had saved the Republic. He had been the one to end the war, yet they withheld what was rightfully his, treating him like a child. The tension in the room was palpable, his frustration thickening the air.
Your time will come, Skywalker.
Obi-Wan interjected gently, trying to placate him, but even Obi-Wan's words, usually soothing, grated on him now. Anakin's eyes narrowed. He had sensed something different in Obi-Wan since returning to Coruscant. An unease, a distance. The truth soon followed. The Council had sent Obi-Wan to spy on Chancellor Palpatine. His heart twisted in anger and confusion. Palpatine had been the only one to show him trust, the only one to value him for what he truly was. And now, the Jedi were sending his own mentor to betray the Chancellor? His mind reeled. The distrust of the Jedi, which had always lingered at the edges of his thoughts, now roared to life. After the Council dismissed him, Anakin's steps led him directly to Palpatine's office. The Grand Chamber welcomed him, filled with the familiar warmth of the man who had been his guide, his friend. Palpatine rose from his desk, a smile playing on his lips as Anakin approached.
Ah, my boy.
Palpatine greeted, his voice smooth and welcoming.
You've returned victorious. I knew you would.
Anakin tried to mask his frustration, but Palpatine's knowing eyes saw through him.
The Council still withholds their recognition, don't they?
Palpatine's voice was gentle, yet it struck a nerve. Anakin said nothing, but the silence was enough of an answer.
They fear your power.
Palpatine continued, stepping closer.
They always have. They know you are destined for greater things, things they can never offer you.
Anakin's heart pounded, his anger and confusion twisting into something more dangerous. He wanted to trust the Jedi, but every decision they made pushed him further away, and Palpatine's voice, calm and understanding, felt like the only truth.
There are other ways,
Palpatine said, his tone shifting slightly, more conspiratorial now.
Ways to save the ones you love, to protect Padme.
Anakin's breath caught. The nightmares of Padme's death still haunted him, growing darker each night. The Council offered him nothing but mistrust and denial, while Palpatine offered answers.
I've seen what the Jedi don't want you to see,
Palpatine said, his voice lowering to a near whisper.
There are powers that can stop death itself.
Anakin's mind raced. Could it be true? Could there be a way to save Padme, to protect her from the future he dreaded?
They will never share this knowledge with you,
Palpatine warned, placing a reassuring hand on Anakin's shoulder.
But I can help you. Together we can unlock the power to save her.
Anakin stood, torn between the two worlds. The Jedi, who had always held him back, and Palpatine, who promised him everything. His distrust of the Council deepened with every word, and the shadows around him seemed to grow longer. He had power, immense power, but it no longer felt like enough. Anakin stood in the shadowy confines of Palpatine's office, his mind racing. The war was nearing its end, and with Grievous defeated, the Republic's victory seemed certain. Yet, despite everything he had accomplished, Anakin felt more uncertain than ever. His faith in the Jedi had been shattered by their secrecy and mistrust. The fight with Grievous had opened his eyes. If the Jedi were truly so powerful, why had they withheld the truth from him? Why had they denied him his rightful place as a master? Palpatine's voice cut through his thoughts, calm yet insidious.
The Jedi are afraid of you, Anakin. They know you're more powerful than they could ever be.
Anakin's gaze shifted, conflicted.
They're supposed to be protectors of peace, but they hide behind their code. They don't trust me.
The Chancellor stepped closer, his presence a looming shadow.
That is because they are weak. And now, they are plotting to overthrow me, to seize control of the Republic.
Anakin's eyes widened, doubt swirling in his mind. Then Palpatine's voice grew darker, revealing the final truth. I am the only one who understands your potential. I am the Sith Lord you've been searching for. Shock rippled through Anakin, but as the realization sunk in, it didn't spark the outrage he had expected. Instead, something else took root, a sense of clarity. The Jedi had been lying to him, manipulating him. But now, in Palpatine's words, there was a promise of something greater, of true power and control. Anakin's decision was no longer about gaining power. It was about aligning himself with the only person who truly understood him. The Jedi, in their hypocrisy, had proven themselves weak and misguided. In this alternate version, Anakin still turns to the dark side, but the catalyst is different. Defeating Grievous solidifies his belief that the Jedi are holding him back and that the Sith's way may be the only solution to save Padme. His transformation into Darth Vader happens more swiftly and decisively. His confidence and ambition after the duel with Grievous make him even more dangerous, and his fall to the dark side becomes more inevitable. Thank you for staying till the end, and if you like this video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more content like this. And as always, may the Force be with you.